You step out of a station and look at your phone. The map loads for a second and then disappears. Your signal is gone. You are in a city you have never visited before, and your hotel is somewhere across town. At first, you tell yourself that this is not a big problem. Then you look around and realize you have no idea which direction to walk. This is exactly the kind of moment when transportation English becomes useful. You do not need perfect English. You need a few clear questions and the ability to recognize the answers. In this episode, we are going to travel across the city together. We will ask for directions, find the subway, buy a ticket, choose the right platform, make a transfer, deal with the delay, take a bus, and fix a wrong turn. By the end, you will know what to listen for when transportation gets confusing. You put your phone away and look for someone who seems to know the area. A woman is waiting near a crosswalk. You walk over and politely get her attention. "Excuse me, how do I get to Central Station?" She points down the street. She tells you to go straight for 2 blocks. Then she says to turn left at the traffic light. You repeat the important part in your head. Straight for 2 blocks, then left at the light. This is a useful habit when directions are long. Do not try to remember every word. Listen for the direction, the landmark, and the distance. You ask one more question. Is it within walking distance? She says yes and tells you it is about 10 minutes away. You thank her and start walking. After 1 block, you see a large intersection. You wonder whether this is the traffic light she meant. You stop and check the street signs. Then you notice a pharmacy on the corner. The woman had mentioned that the station was across from a pharmacy. That tells you that you are close. Across from means directly on the opposite side. Next to means beside something. Between means in the middle of 2 places. On the corner means at the point where 2 streets meet. These location words appear constantly when people give directions. You cross the street and finally see the subway entrance. Before going inside, you notice a transit mat near the stairs. You need to reach Riverside. You look at the different colored lines. You are not sure which one to take. A transit employee is standing near the ticket machines. You ask which line goes to Riverside. Which line should I take to Riverside? The employee tells you to take the green line. Then they add that you will need to transfer at City Hall. You hear the word transfer and immediately pay attention. Do I need to transfer? The employee says yes, once. You ask where you should change trains. Where do I change trains? They tell you to transfer at City Hall to the blue line. Now you know the basic route. Green line to City Hall, then blue line to Riverside. Before you can enter, you need to pay the fare. You walk to the ticket machine. The screen shows several options. Single ride, day pass, and reloadable card. You were only in the city for 1 day, so you ask the employee another question. Can I buy a day pass? They tell you yes and explain that it includes unlimited rides for the day. You decide that is easier than buying several single tickets. You choose the day pass. Then you wonder whether the machine accepts cards. Can I pay by card? The employee says yes. You tap your card and the payment goes through. At some transit systems, you need to buy a ticket before getting on. At others, you tap a card or phone at the gate. The exact system changes from city to city. But the questions are often very similar. You enter the station and follow the signs for the green line. Then you see 2 platforms. One train goes northbound and the other goes southbound. You know the line, but you are not sure about the direction. This is a very common mistake. Knowing the correct line is only half the job. You also need the correct direction. You ask another passenger, is this the right platform for City Hall? They shake their head. They tell you that you need the platform on the other side. You almost got on the train going in the wrong direction. You thank them and walk across to the correct platform. A train arrives a minute later. Before getting on, you check the sign again. Green line toward downtown. City Hall is 3 stops away. You get on. The doors close. An announcement begins. You do not understand every word, but you hear the name of the next station. This is another useful listening strategy. On public transportation, station names are often more important than complete sentences. You count the stops. 1 stop, 2 stops, then City Hall. You get off with several other passengers. Now you need to find the blue line. The station is larger than you expected. There are stairs, escalators, and signs pointing in several directions. You follow a sign that says transfer. Then you see another sign for the blue line. You are not sure whether you need to pay again. Is the transfer free? A staff member says that it is included in your fare. You continue toward the blue line platform. Then you hear an announcement. The blue line is delayed. You look at the information screen. It says there is a 20-minute delay. 20 minutes is longer than you want to wait. You ask the staff member what is happening. Is the train delayed? They say yes. You ask how long the delay is expected to be. How long is the delay? They say about 20 minutes, but it could be longer. You ask whether the line is still running. Is this line still running? They tell you that trains are moving, but very slowly. Then you ask the most useful question in the delay. Is there another way to get there? The staff member thinks for a moment. They tell you that you can take bus number 24 from the street outside. The bus stops near Riverside. You decide to try the bus instead. You follow the exit signs and return to street level. Outside, there are several bus stops on the same block. You check the route numbers. You find number 24. A bus approaches. Before getting on, you want to make sure. Does this bus go to Riverside? The driver says yes. You ask another question. Does this bus stop near Riverside Market? The driver says it stops 2 blocks away. You get on. Then you ask about the fare. How much is the fare? The driver tells you that your day pass works on the bus too. That is good news. You tap your pass and take a seat. Now you want to know where to get off. Where should I get off for Riverside Market? The driver gives you the stop name. You repeat it once to make sure you heard correctly. Then you ask how many stops it is. How many stops is it? The driver says about 7. You sit down and start counting again. After a few stops, you worry that you might miss it. You walk closer to the front and ask for help. Could you let me know when we get there? The driver says, sure. This is a very useful sentence when you are unfamiliar with the route. A few minutes later, the bus slows down. The driver tells you that your stop is next. You press the stop button. The bus stops and you get off. You look around. Something feels wrong. The streets are quiet and there is no market anywhere nearby. You check a map posted at the bus stop. Then you realize what happened. You got off 1 stop too early. I think I got off at the wrong stop. You look for another person nearby. You ask how to get to Riverside Market from there. They tell you that you can walk about 10 minutes, or you can take the next bus 1 stop. You ask which option is faster. Is it faster to walk? They say yes because the next bus may take 15 minutes. You decide to walk. You ask for 1 more direction. Which way should I go? They point straight ahead. Go straight until you see a bank. Then turn right. The market will be on your left. You thank them and start walking. Halfway there, your phone signal finally returns. The map loads again. You laugh because now the route looks obvious, but by this point you have already handled almost the entire trip without it. You asked for directions. You understood distance and landmarks. You found the correct subway line. You checked the platform and direction. You bought a pass. You made a transfer. You handled the delay. You found an alternative bus. You asked where to get off. And you corrected a small mistake when you got off too early. Now let us review some of the most useful transportation questions from the trip. How do I get to this place? Asks for general directions. Is it within walking distance? Checks whether walking is practical. Which line should I take? Asks which subway or train line you need. Do I need to transfer? Checks whether you have to change vehicles. Where do I change trains? Asks for the transfer station. Is this the right platform? Checks whether you are waiting in the correct place. Can I buy a day pass? Asks about an unlimited or a multi-ride ticket. Can I pay by card? Checks the payment method. Is the transfer free? Asks whether changing lines costs extra. Is the train delayed? Checks whether the service is running late. How long is the delay? Asks how much extra time you may need. Is there another way to get there? Asks for an alternative route. Does this bus go to this area? Checks whether you are on the correct bus. Where should I get off? Asks for the correct stop. How many stops is it? Helps you estimate when to prepare. Could you let me know when we get there? Asks someone to alert you. I think I got on the wrong train. Explains that you may be traveling in the wrong direction. I think I missed my stop. Explains that you stayed on too long. How do I get back? Asks how to correct the mistake. Should I get off at the next stop? Ask what action to take immediately. Can I take the same bus back? Checks whether you can reverse your route. Could you take me to this address? Is useful in a taxi or rideshare. Can you drop me off here? Asks the driver to stop at your current location. How long will it take? Asks for the travel time. These are not complicated sentences, but together they cover a huge number of real transportation situations. The most important thing is not memorizing every route word. It is learning to listen for a few key pieces of information: direction, line number, station name, platform, number of stops, transfer point, travel time, and whether there is a delay or another route. When you can catch those pieces, the rest of the conversation becomes much easier. You finally reach Riverside Market. The signs, lights, and people make it obvious that you are in the right place. You smile because the trip was much more complicated than you expected, but you also realize something. You managed every problem one question at a time. If this episode made transportation English feel more manageable, come back anytime and listen again. The more familiar these questions become, the easier it'll be to move around a new city without panicking. If you would like more real-life English like this, stick around and subscribe. See you in the next episode.